have we got things to talk about? I think I'm going to jump right into it. Since we looked at the mission, vision, and value yesterday, I'm going to just skip that today. But there is an intro question that I would like us to talk about. And I think it's important, and I think it's even more important now. And it is offboarding stewards. We now have a number of stewards who aren't actually very active. And what does a gentle exit look like? The question, one of the solutions that I think is really elegant is just time-bound stewardship. So you are nominated to be a steward, you're a steward for 3 months, and then your stewardship expires, and you can revalidate your stewardship with some sort of statement, a mission statement, or a statement of why you want to continue, and something like that. But some structure so that stewards can become more of a fluid role than something you become, and then even after you've kind of exited the community, you still are it. So I'm really open to ideas that you have, that you've seen work in other communities. I've looked at many different communities and have some inspiration from some of them, but I think that the knowledge of all the stewards here today can really help us nail this, because I'd like in the next sprint to have a proposal and then just to start implementing that process before the Commons upgrade, because it's going to be required for the Commons upgrade. So I hope everyone heard that intro question. I see people have been coming in. I'll say it very fast. The intro question is time-bound stewardship or other ideas to keep stewardship active and to help people exit the role in a graceful and elegant way when they are no longer active as stewards in the TEC. So I'm going to pass to Livia, because I think it'd be great if you can get us started with this topic.
Hello, everybody.
And maybe just in the interest of time, sorry, I'll set a timer for 2 minutes, but if you're in the flow, keep going. I'll just let you know 2 minutes has passed.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, my thoughts are, I think we discussed this a few times, but I think we came to the consensus that being a steward is someone that is in the know of what is happening in the TEC. So sometimes we have that fuzzy line between like, oh, does a steward has to be a working group lead or not? And I think we came to the point where it doesn't need to be a working group lead. People can be transiting around multiple working groups and still have this fair knowledge about everything happening. And I think there are a few rituals that we set up for people to participate and for us to continue to have this passing of information between so many nodes that we have. So we can consider each working group as a node, but also there are some like fronts of work that are happening that some people are knowledgeable about that, and they would be able to inform each other when we come together. So one person doesn't have to be knowledgeable about everything that is happening, but can easily access that information by asking these other people. And then like that, we keep kind of like a network effect of everyone being like informed about everything. So I think whenever a person loses the ability to do that, to be like a great point of information for a certain stream or for a large set of events, then I don't think that person is a steward anymore. And I think there is a bit of a social pressure with that we talked about a few times, of like this fear of dying, this fear of losing recognition among people, and how maybe we can reframe that is that no one would lose anything. Is just they're moving into other aspects. Someone that is not so active in the TC anymore might be opening active points in other places of their life, and that should be like equally respected, so we don't create this like social hierarchy for who is a steward or not. Is just the role that a person is fulfilling at that time. So I think there is like a very intuitive understanding of who are the people that are not in that place anymore, and I think that can be easily talked about. So like I feel like, for example, we have Craig as a steward and Jess as a steward, and yeah, I think those are the two people that I would say, like, if I ask Craig about what is happening in a certain environment or what is happening in the TC, I don't think he would be able to answer because he has removed himself a little bit, but he still provides super great contributions. So I think just having that, and same with Jess. So I think just having that conversation and approaching in a way that it's very gentle and just like up to the facts of like, how have you been feeling in this role? Do you feel like you energized this role? And then offering an offboarding session of like mostly gratitude and acknowledging the contributions that this person made in this role for this time, and then moving forward and removing the tag on Discord so people don't feel like they can reach out to them directly and be misplaced or things like that. And then I think similar to the process of you, am I over time? I think I was waiting for the bell.
Oh yeah, sorry, the 2 minutes was up. I unmuted for that, but I feel like if you're on a flow, just keep going actually, because this is such an important subject.
Okay, just to close, I think similarly to how we approach people when we want to nominate them as stewards, it should be as simple as that for unnominating someone as a steward. So maybe having a quick advice process within the group, or like a quality consent process that it doesn't need to be posted on a forum or anything, just like a chat within the stewards group. And I'll pass to Griff.
Just as a reminder, sorry, I don't want to stop anyone from the flow, so I'm going to just unmute when 2 minutes is up to let the 2-minute flow, just to let everyone know that 2 minutes is up. But keep going if you're, like you need to keep going.
I'm excited to see what other ideas come up. I really liked Tam's idea of having a set time frame, and maybe even like more like a quarterly schedule, or some kind of schedule where it's like, we have a shakeup, we have a steward shakeup. Maybe we have a cap on the number of stewards that's possible. Maybe it would be also, I think that we will find a lot of value in having a stewards multi-sig, for instance, like a safe that has certain roles and responsibilities within our DAO, and that like along with the Discord label, there can be like a, hey, every 3 months or every 4 months we have this like ceremony where we elect the new stewards, and then and probably just within the stewards group. It doesn't have to be a big like TEC vote, although it could be as well. But I don't think that's honestly the way to go. I think it's better that the stewards elect the stewards. And then we have that multi-sig that can, for example, be the treasury management multi-sig, or be the, fulfill other needs that we have on chain that we'd want only people who are really in the know of what's happening to have. And I think within that bounded time and bounded number, then it becomes an easier thing, and we can extend the number if we'd like. It doesn't have to be a set number, but it's nice if we set it up so that there's a cap, because then it's like, well, we have to exclude because there's a cap, right? And also these set time periods to elect means like, okay, well, the last 2 months you haven't been around, so sorry, it's okay, nothing personal. And then, but what's important is the offboarding ceremony, it's like, I think Livia mentioned it, and we talked about this in some call or something, where it's like, celebrating the life right? It's like when someone leaves something, it's so scary because it kind of hits on that taboo of death, you know, and it's like their death in that role. And so, how do we manage that as a culture? You know, as humans, we usually have a ceremony to celebrate the life in the time that that person had in that role. And I think that's a really important aspect of it too, is to like thank them and congratulate them. Just like I think I'm just mostly echoing Livia because we talked about this a couple times. And I'll pass it to Wonka.
Yeah, I also think that communication is very important in this, and um, it if we are thinking that someone um is yeah no longer doing the task of the steward, maybe we can approach them, but I also agree with Griff that there should be like someone who is like the lead of that activity, or like at least for a case, maybe someone that approaches the other person and yeah, is the one that can know if the other person is agrees or not with this offboarding. But because I think all should be like communicated and a voluntary process, as the same way that someone joins in goodwill, they should be also feeling and recognizing. And I think that's an important thing of responsibility to say when we are, and to recognize when we are no longer um, delivering our best. Yeah, the only thing that I don't agree is if we like remove them like on force. I think that or like without telling them. I think yeah, I agree with having an offboarding ritual where we can like continue saying like, yeah, this doesn't mean that you're no longer part of the community and that we can still be friends. It's just that this move fast. And I'll pass to Mitch.
Thanks. I really agree with the point of just finding a way to offboard these stewards. I think the 3-month review process is great, just like a checkup. And I wonder if there's just like a minimum below that for like no participation where we could also consider it. But I don't have more details. I like the offboarding session as well. I don't have any original ideas to add to this conversation, but I like it. So I'll pass it on to somebody who might have some stuff to contribute. Eduardo?
Thank you. And thank you for thinking I have something to contribute. So I will say that I agree with everything that has been said. The only thing I will add is that also a way to on top of the 3 month period time, for example, is to rotate in between the working group lead and or the working group coordinator, whatever you want to call it, the other role, and the steward, in a way that it becomes sort of a flow that allows other members of the working group to acquire more responsibility if the working group feels like that, and like some rotation in between the roles. So it's not only to excuse the person of community steward, but also to give some air to or change of responsibilities if it's needed. It could be a nice and interesting way to sort of also onboard a steward. I don't know if I'm clear explaining myself, because I suck at explaining myself. Time, it seems that I am not explaining myself. Basically, if we have two roles,
I don't fully understand.
if we have two roles in the working group, which is the steward and the other one is the kind of lead or representative, whatever you want to call it, then every 3 months we can check if it is possible to rotate. So the lead becomes a steward and the steward becomes the lead. So in a way, we sort of create a flow, and we give access to other people to become a steward for a period of time if it's needed. Not mandatory. It's just like a suggestion for another alternative for offboarding someone. I do believe that it could be really nice. I remember from Hatcher Outreach to also with a 3-month period to sort of give a could be nice to just like pass on to whoever gonna be, and to celebrate in a small call, probably 20-30 minutes or something like that, that the stewards are present to celebrate that person and to sort of for the offboarding. That could be interesting too. So I will pass it on to Nate.
Thanks, Eduardo. Yeah, so I wish we didn't have to distinguish between these roles in terms of like them holding certain privileges or certain aspects. I wish you could just become a steward based on a baseline of requirements and then ease out when you no longer have that baseline of requirements without any type of onboarding or offboarding process in the first place. I think that going through that nomination process and offboarding process is kind of it's a huge bump, and like I like the idea of having time-bound roles, especially if we do have distinctions or like different qualities within these roles. Like I would love to see none of the stewards be working group leads. I would rather see working group leads have that realm of responsibility within that particular niche area, and stewards be able to guide decision making and to link the working groups together to make decisions. I'm afraid that if you have the time bound roles and you have people moving in and out of stewardship all the time, you're going to have a lot of inconsistency because you need a lot of people for that type of thing to work effectively. You need to have a lot of people who are paying attention, and I don't think we have that at the moment. And so I would really like to get rid of any type of, inequality between the roles, but that might not be feasible. Those are just my thoughts on it. If we're going to go the practical route, I think that just discussing it with, me or Craig or whoever, one-on-one is the best way to go about it. But I would really like to see a little bit more like a different approach towards stewardship than we currently have. So, but I'll pass it to Chewy.
Can I just interject one thing, please? Sorry.
Yes, sure.
Because I think it's important. The idea of time-bound stewardship doesn't necessarily mean that a person couldn't have another extension of stewardship. So it wouldn't mean that the entire cohort of stewards become non-stewards and then completely new people come, because that would cause a lot of confusion actually in our community. That would probably be disadvantageous for us. But the idea would be that stewards would have to sort of recommit in some timely fashion to undertake this role. I just wanted that to be very clear.
I was going to say my only concern with that is we're introducing politics into this, like this situation where we really don't need to, and that's my only thing. Sorry. Go ahead, Drew.
Yeah, I would love to hear more ideas about this idea of sort of what it would look like, this automation of acquiring stewardship or not maybe within this call, but I can start to imagine what that could look like. But yeah, I guess for the purpose of this call, we should move on with the idea of how we offboard stewards. If you want, did you pass it to someone? Chewy, right?
Chewy, yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, Tim.
I don't have a lot to add. The only thing that was already in my mind was like an offboarding ceremony. I feel that the same way people come in with us recognizing their talents and their strengths, I feel that it's really important also to recognize what they did for the TEC. And I would suggest maybe involving gravity at some point in the offboarding process, and especially if there's like any kind of conflict. And I would also suggest that also like former stewards to be involved in a way in the ceremony that's going to be a few months. And
I feel that their input can also be really good, and it can always be good for retrospective if they are not participating anymore. Yeah, that would be my only suggestion, and I'll pass it to Kepti. Did you go already?
Yeah, thanks, Chuy. Yeah, I would. Yeah, I really like the idea that Tam just said about automatization, and I think, yeah, it should be, like a job. You are there, you're here, so you're doing this, and when you're not here, you're not doing this, so it's fine. Like no one ever. I don't know. People. I mean, I don't know. Like people do not complain when they're leaving a job. It's fine. It's okay, and uh, and then I have one thing I do not know how to solve. Let's say, but for example, like I feel like we are kind of centralizing it into the stewards, and I know, like Griff was talking about seeing TC as an economy, but if you are centralizing it, it's more like a company, because like this is to us. You even were talking about multi-sigs, and I think, well, I don't think that. I think we are adding politics into the stewards and giving them every time more power, and yeah, I'm fearful to that. And yeah, regarding the offboarding, I would set up rules, and I think stewardship shouldn't have like any privilege at all. Like it should, okay, this is the people who's more involved, who know more, and it's a way to make newcomers to, okay, I'm reaching this person because he's a steward and he is more involved, so he might know something that I don't know. And yeah, it should be more like this, like just to coordinate the economy. But at some point, like at some point in the future, like maybe when we're talking about token engineering, it's hard to say. But if we're talking about roads, like okay, this is the steward team of the roads of, I don't know, Barcelona, and this is the steward team of Tarragona, and all these things can live together. And yeah, I mean, I'm thinking too much into the future, and I don't know, but yeah, that's what I feel. I feel we shouldn't add politics, and to afford stewards, it should be by a set of rules. Like you are not contributing this amount of time a month, a week. Yeah, and I'll pass it to Metaverde.
Hello. I don't have anything to add, and I'm not a steward, and I appreciate being included. So I'll pass it back.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks everyone for that. It's a lot to take into, actually, and yeah. All right, I hope to make a proposal for our stewards in the next sprint, and maybe start taking some actions with this too. Okay, so we spent some time on that, but the main focus was around crunching the numbers for this council, was around crunching the numbers for the working group funding. There are a few drafts already, and the one for Communitas is in progress. It's not ready yet. The one for labs is also in progress, but essentially it would be three persons. And then legal, I think we'll have from Santi, and Omega, I'm not sure yet. But if I just put them into here to sort of see like this 3-month projection for these 3 that are ready. And gravity, from what I understood, there was no proposal to the DAO in terms of funding for the gravity group. That's what I understood from this draft, or when I saw it. This looked like it was a funding for services to other DAOs, but I didn't see anything around the service, unless this is the service to the TEC. Actually, could that be what this is?
Yeah, I think that we could offer the service to the TEC as the same way we will offer the service to other communities. And yeah, that way the TEC will fund Gravity by the services that we provide.
And so if I look at this, I see numbers, but I don't see like a time period. Is this monthly? Or I see this is per session. Oh, this is, can you Yeah, I guess the yeah, sorry, I just want to the result is what would be the funding proposal that Gravity would submit to the DAO after the Commons upgrade for 3-month, 6-month funding for Gravity.
Okay, well, I was thinking like the yearly insurance, like 10,000 DAI per year, and yeah, I was thinking initially that, and maybe I don't know if there could be like other bounties or something, but yeah, I think it would be like 10,000 DAI.
Okay, got it. So I'm just gonna put like 3, something like that, right? Because I'm just doing a 3-month, looking at just 3 months at a time. Probably we can do 6 months and 1 month too. Okay. All right. Okay, and then the Graviton training would be a separate proposal. It wouldn't be part of the sort of continuous operations of Gravity.
No, I was thinking like we can continue making like open Graviton trainings, but we can offer also like tailored Graviton trainings for organizations, so that they request them. And yeah, I wasn't thinking actually in charging the all the Graviton trainings, but more the ones that are focused on one organization. But to continue fostering the Graviton trainings to some open ones to be like gathering points for different communities, and also to help us outreach other communities. But then if like maybe a communities had like 2 people participating in the Graviton training, and they want a Graviton training for their whole organization, that is what I am thinking of charging this. And like if the organization, after having the Graviton training, they want to have like their own registry, and train people more in depth, like in mediation, and how are we managing now the GitHub repo, and if they want to fork it, that would be like 6,000 DAI.
Okay, and then the monthly insurance, would this be in addition to this yearly insurance?
A fraction. It's like sometimes you are not going to have like and this is what I have seen, that there are like peaks of conflict, and moments of conflict, and moments of more calm. So if you are going to face a difficult decision in your DAO, or something is happening, you can have like 2-month insurance, and not having the yearly insurance, if you like foresee that in some time you're going to need this.
I
And
see.
I was thinking also on rewarding gravitons per case 200 DAI. And yeah, the rewards for managing a case for a graviton would be 200 DAI.
Okay, and so would the request to the DAO be like, we need some small pool of funds so that we can reward gravitons as they manage cases?
Yeah. This will be like the funds to the DAO, and then we will reward the gravitons according to the cases. Yes, for sure. And I was thinking like on 200 DAI, because we spend in a case I spend like 10 to 12 hours. I have been like approximating it, and I think it's good, that would be fair, and that way we can manage like, if someone manages 5 cases in a month, that's like 1,000. And I think that's good. And also we will be like in this funding pool, we will be receiving also from Gitcoin, we will try to participate in grants and stuff like that to have like a funding pool, and then we reward the gravitons on their activities.
Okay, I think I understand. And then for the purpose of just having some like ballpark figure for a 3-month for all of these core operational working groups, does that number then, this number doesn't include a pool to use to allocate to gravitons. So should this be larger? What would your expectation be in terms of how many of those bounties we would give out? Not really bounties. How many of those rewards would Gravity need to have available?
I was thinking initially like in 200 DAI per case, but I don't know if there would be additional activities that should be also rewarded. And there are also like some repetitive activities that should be always done, and also maybe we can with our funds we can like maybe get some third party help on some things, like maybe we could with our funding pool reach like an agreement with the Tcoms DAO, so that they manage our Twitter and that they help our communication strategy for 3 months. And my idea is to have a separate economy within Gravity.
Cool. Okay. So then I think I understand. So there will be, Gravity will request funds from the TEC, but also from Gitcoin and from other DAOs. So I get it. And maybe this is a soft number right now, but is it about what you would expect to request from the TEC for a 3-month period?
Well, it's more or less, and I think that like all changes require some risk. And initially, if Gravity only stays in the TEC, these numbers would be like actually short for what we are doing right now. But what I imagine is that if we get to outreach more communities, then that funding pool will grow, and that way we will be able to recognize better some of the work that is being done. I think more or less this can be it for the initial proposal.
Okay, good. I'm just looking for a ballpark. I'm assuming these numbers will change. Okay. Okay, so it comes down to, for the pending the communitas and legal, it looks like something like 45,000 DAI for a 3-month period. So maybe 15 a month. And I guess we can, I don't know if we want to, for the stewards, I went with the middle number, though I think there's going to be some changes in that, specifically because of this stewards offboarding process. I think it's actually going to end up being a little lower than this, maybe, probably. But okay, I guess thoughts on that? I'm going to pass around again and maybe see, do we have comms? Right. Oh, yeah, maybe it's worth doing comms too. So Chewy, what I added was, this is incorrect, but it's just to get a ballpark. I looked at the figures that you had and I just said one of each role. Do you have any better idea yet of the kind of the figure that the final comms DAO will propose?
Yes.
This is too rough. Yeah.
Yes, I actually, it was some of our topics on the last comms working group call, and in order like to prevent like some hierarchy figures. I don't know if to call them that, but before we can have like separate projects that pay like the full 19 DAI per hour, I was thinking of maybe absorbing some of these contributions with a bounty system. I feel that a bounty system will be more compatible for newcomers, so that they can start getting like a better idea with small assignments. And once they have more experience and are more familiar with token engineering and all of this, maybe that could be a better way to assign project managers, and project managers would be able to apply for funding for bigger projects. So I guess I just divided it like in easier steps for new contributors. So yeah, I think I'll have this new proposal ready for presenting it next week.
Tam, can you share that spreadsheet you're working on, please? Okay, perfect, thanks.
You're on mute, Tim.
That whole time? Shoot. Yeah, I'll drop it in here. I think everyone should have access to it. And sorry that it's misnamed. I was working on it for the Stewards working group. Okay, so new proposal with comms next week. Excellent. And then maybe transparency. Should we go through that one too?
Yeah, we didn't add any update, honestly, on this, but this is more or less, I feel like this is pretty accurate for me and Ivy. Like
Okay, cool.
the first one, yeah.
Okay, so then I just took this number, I took the middle, I think I took 800, and then multiplied it by 12 and by 2 to come up with 19,200. Just so we can start to have some idea of the proposals that'll be requested to the DAO. All right, so there's probably not much more than for us to speak about. Maybe I'll just keep updating this as we have better ideas, so we'll have some ballpark about what we're looking at. I'd like to just see if there's any more thoughts about working group, about these proposals. I think we should put a deadline on it and maybe even have a format where all of the proposals are sort of following the same, like a template for this format. And all of the proposals can follow the same format. Maybe it is the format that we're using for all proposals, the one that we have in the forums as a template already for the advice process, and the one that we're looking at creating for Snapshot. I guess maybe I'll ask Livia, do you think that template will work for these proposals as well? It should, right?
Yeah, it should. Eduardo, we should coordinate on that, on the template, but it should be pretty general.
Yeah. Regarding the Communitas working group funding, I will need some assistance with that because Katie started that and we sync only once. So I didn't know if she received any help before, or what's the context from where she came to that proposal, and also to consider new people who are in the working group to see how we can incentivize their participation. So I will need some assistance with that if possible.
Yeah, I do plan to help you with that.
Thank you.
Okay.
I have a question real quick, if you don't mind. I still don't kind of understand. Are the funding for these working groups, are they existing outside of the reward system that will be set in place? And will all working groups incorporate the reward system that we decide upon? And if that's the case, then are we basing the numbers that each working groups are using off of what they need to be paying their contributors? Or are we basing it off of like, this is the type of funds that we'll need to build up the infrastructure to get our working group off the ground and functioning? Like, I think there's just kind of a blurred line of distinction there.
Yeah, maybe I can answer that, but happy to hear other opinions too. Since we don't really have, and we don't really know how much each person would be able to get from the reward systems, because we basically don't have like a functioning economy yet. It's interesting to have all of these proposals to see what is going to work. So maybe the groups that are going only with the reward systems will have enough funding. Maybe the groups that are having these proposals plus the reward systems will have extra funding. Maybe some of the tasks done within these proposals are more objective tasks, and then we would have to see, like, in the final configuration of everything, how each person will be rewarded and how that will look in general. And probably this would be like a short-term thought, like it's a very experimental proposal to the kickoff and make sure that people are feeling compensated to continue the work that has been done. But it will very likely change once we have more awareness of how the reward systems is working.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add. I think that explained it very well. Does that cover your questions, Nate?
It does, yeah. I just worry that, if the reward system is not completely there yet and the working group funding is used mostly for compensating contributors, which I think should be okay, because if we don't have kind of that compensation aspect early on, we're going to lose a lot of new contributors that are joining the space now because of this kind of expectation that, or assumption that they have, that once we get funding and stuff like that, that they'll be taken care of. But yeah, those are my only concerns with it.
I do think we just have to do the best we can, and personally, I would prefer that everyone just assume that there is no extra reward system, because I would rather see the extra funds sitting in the hands of the working groups that they can budget with, as opposed to not having enough funds because you overestimate the reward system. That's my personal suggestion. And then when you have extra funds and you can take that in, when we have an understanding of what the reward system ends up being and how that ends up working, then you can just have some extra float in your working group.
Yeah. Okay. I'd like to just pass around for closing. I have nothing else because we are still getting numbers together. So maybe just pass around, and any final thoughts. And if we end early, we end early. So I'll pass to Juan Carlos if you have anything else to add or to share with the stewards about the this funding and reward system, and most importantly, really making sure that our contributors are appreciated and rewarded for the contributions that they will be doing these next few months until we know the outcome of the reward system.
Yeah, I was thinking that I was only looking to reward management of cases in Gravity, directly in Gravity, but I was thinking that the reward system could be I was counting that the reward system could be like a basic rewards for people that participate in Gravity but that are not directly managing cases. So I was counting on the reward mechanism and being these rewards from Gravity more directly to managing cases. But also, maybe, I don't know, now that you were mentioning Tam, I was reflecting on it, and maybe we could request like an initial proposal to the funding pool to like not get short on things when we're starting. And yeah, I maybe think that that's what on my side. But I am not good at numbers. Yeah, so I don't know. I need more administrative help on that.
I'm happy to sit down with you and work through some scenarios and some figures with the scenarios. Okay. Maybe pass to Mitch.
Yeah, to Mitch.
Thanks. I'm agreeing with a lot of comments here that it's going to be hard to figure out what's realistic for us until we have a working economy and a working reward system. So I think there's a lot of things that'll change once we get the details and all this other very important stuff. And I will give it to Nate.
Yeah, I agree with Mitch on that. And I guess the one thing that I have a concern about is making sure that the working group leads, who are the stewards, really focus on organizing the contributors within their groups and making sure that they know how to enter these types of pseudo work agreement type things and how to manage it properly. Because you're going to have a lot of new people coming in going, hey, I'm a contributor, but perhaps they're not, and it's a tight rope to walk. So I think that maybe we should kind of go over that as a group of stewards, just kind of advise on that. Yeah, that's my only thoughts on that, and I'll pass it to Septi.
Thanks, Nate. Yeah, I kind of resonate with that. Like, not knowing the reward system it makes it so hard to make those proposals. But yeah, like having like what we need at least for these working groups keep functioning, and yeah, the work contributors. I think it's important so they don't leave. And when we sort it out, and actually, and if the people is getting rewarded by the reward system, every small DAO can also adjust it to it. Like if they get overcompensate, we can still do adjustments. And yeah, I think it's better, just to have some pot and we working on those. And when the reward system ends up being released, we will see what goes. I'll pass it to Libby.
Thanks. Yeah, I wanted to address a few points that were mentioned before about the stewards being centralized or including this automation process. I think we are far from centralized in the most used sense of the word. Just if we think like what each one of us are connected to out of this group, we'll understand how large it is, the ecosystem we're working with, and how these meetings that we have and the points of contact are just this really like touching of information, and how actually we're representing a much larger group of people that we have a commitment with inclusion. And I think this is part of our cultural foundation. And to be able to include others, we need to be intentional and to have a structure that allows that to happen. So people are not just like floating or all around, and like organization doesn't equals to centralization. And I think that's what we've been trying to do. And also on the automation point, I think it kills the whole pleasure in life and connection of it. Like the rituals we've been building for people to get in and out of roles and having moments to discuss and having the social point being the most important point. Like we're all tired of automation, like how can we be more human? That has been the whole point. And I would be really sad if we kill that. And I'll pass to I'll pass to Tim.
I guess for my 2 minutes, I'd say I think there's some really interesting. I think that there's been lots of discussions that I've heard in in Common Stack and Source Cred and many different communities around this idea of sociocratic and circles and autonomy, and in some ways each of these working groups, Griff has mentioned this before, are their own little startups, right? They'll have their own budget, they'll have to manage their contributors, all these points that we raised, and there won't be one right way for everyone to do it in the same way. So it's going to be very much up to the dynamics of each of these working groups to develop their own way and to share best, what works with other working groups and what isn't working with other working groups. And that's the purpose of this sort of transversal stewardship, right? So we can all share and learn from each other. But that the autonomy should really rest with each working group. And they'll have different cadences. There might be some where it makes sense to participate in sprint planning as a larger group, and some that doesn't. There are some that are services to other DAOs, and some that are really only focused on TEC and not paying attention to anything that's going around in other DAOs. So I think acknowledging and respecting the very different needs and objectives of each working group is sort of going to be crucial to this. So I'm also a big fan of all of the working groups looking inward and just determining what would be best for the people that contribute to making that working group alive and to make that working group efficient and successful, and then proposing what's best for their working group. And I'll pass to Eduardo.
Thank you, Tam. Besides what everyone has said, there's only a few things that concern me. One, it's the timing of when this funding proposals came alive and when the reward system comes alive. Because if there is a mistiming in when these two things happened, we could have people having work done and then not rewarded by the reward system, but they are not included on the budget of the funding proposal because they arrive late. So I will take time to inform the community about how we came across these funding proposals and what it includes, so everyone has kind of this awareness. So yeah, that's the only thing that I'm just a little bit hesitant about, the timings of execution of reward system and these funding proposals, so everyone doesn't feel left out, or that they did work that was not acknowledged, or any other kind of subjective point of view that could affect the environment. So that will be my only comment on that, and I will pass it on to Shui.
Thanks, Edu. I've been thinking about this a lot lately. I don't have much to add, but I have a concern about gaming source grid or any kind of reward system that we have. I wouldn't just underestimate the possibility that some people might be able to find some loopholes maybe in our system. And since source grid is very related to trial and error, this is a concern that I've been having lately. In my previous experience in OneHive, I saw it especially around the design channel, for example. People were posting all kinds of designs, and this didn't really have a lot to do with the branding guidelines or anything like this, but still people were liking each other. So yeah, I remember it took a while. So this is another reason why I started considering the bounty board, so that we can have a correct output, and at the same time a proper way to guide some of the creative contributors. But yeah, the reward system is something that might like underpay or like overpay at some point, and I feel that that is going to be a lot of observation in part. But I also agree with Levy that being like organized around it shouldn't mean that we centralize some decisions. So yep, it's going to be a matter of observation. And I'll pass it back to you, Tom.
And Griff, if you want to close us out with any final thoughts.
Yeah. I really love that we're having these discussions. It's such a cool thing to be so forward thinking, and be ahead of the game, ahead of the curve. I really don't want people to feel bad about asking for money, though. I think it's important that we make sure that we, as a DAO, we have a strong foundation of the core people who are doing what they're doing, and that they're not going to be burned out or feel under rewarded for their work. And so I feel like we can up the requests a little bit, especially since the Common Swarm and Params, we're not going to request anything. We might request projects as needed when they happen. Eventually we'll want to request funding to rebuild the Hatch app, for instance, so that it's cooler like the current one that we have. But that's about it. And then, maybe the Common Swarm will be gone, and we'll have another solution for development work, a mix of Raid Guild and One Hive and a few other options, General Magic. So we will have other solutions, but it would be scary to me if we didn't have a strong foundation of core people being funded to continue this effort and continue this work. So please don't be shy. And I really like the Stewards proposal. It's really great. And I like the 3 options are interesting. So we'll have to see where we go, but I could totally see the Stewards group being like a backstop for some proposals for some working groups too, maybe even seed funding a working group or this kind of filling in that role. And so having some funds to play with in the Stewards group is really critical to me, in my opinion. So I would go for the at least the middle request. And I just like how we're flowing. So I think we're way ahead of the game in any DAO that I've ever seen. So I'd say congratulations, and this is super cool. And I also I don't see this as fighting against decentralization. Decentralization is like lots of independent pieces, that are all their own little central party. So I feel like we're doing it right. Anyway, I'll pass it to Tam to end it.
We are at the top of the hour. Thanks for that. Really some insights from everyone today. So thanks everyone for your time today.
Thanks everyone.